On this episode of MythBusters, Adam and Jamie go on a grime wave with two frightfully filthy fables.
That is nasty.
First, they call in the Rat Pack.
Oh, I see some rat urine on a can.
For the terrible tale that rat pee on a pop can can kill.
Oh, this one is so gross.
Then they test the myth that everyday items are dirtier than your toilet seat.
Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow.
Meanwhile, Jesse, Tori, and Grant cut to the chase
Why'd you stop? We're supposed to skip it.
as they find out if a souped-up supercar
That's a fast car.
can bounce across the surface of a lake like a skipping stone.
We're like Thelma and Louise.
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage and Jamie Heineman.
Relax. This one hurt a bit.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience. Joining them, Tori Belleci, Grant Imahara,
We're good to go.
Carrie Byron,
It's terrifying.
and featuring Jesse Combs.
This is gonna be so rad.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test.
What do you got there? A story about very small things?
Yep. We're talking about millions of tiny organisms that you come into contact with every day, but some of them could have a nasty surprise waiting for you and be really harmful.
I got one that fits that bill. I got a chain letter recently that stated a woman had died from a deadly pathogen she contracted drinking from a soda can tainted with rat urine.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, let's get to it.
Okay.
Wherever there are rats, filth follows. But are soda cans really contaminated by rat pee? And if they are, could drinking directly from the can be deadly?
So how do you want to test this?
Well, you know, this myth is so pervasive, we need to get it right. And that means we need to have a nice, large sample size.
Okay, and I think we should start with a positive pee control so that we know what rat urine looks like, we know how to test for it, we know how to know when it's there.
And we need to just get a whole passel of rats, a bunch of cans, and let nature take its course, huh?
Is passel the collective noun for rats?
I don't know.
Well, actually, it's a horde, swarm, rabble, or pack of rats. But before they get started,
But I don't understand. How is it possible that rat pee could kill you? Yes, it's not rat pee itself that could kill you. It's the fact that rat pee could potentially carry both leptospirosis and hantavirus that makes it potentially dangerous. I see.
according to this myth, deadly pathogens transfer from rat through rat urine to soda can, and from there to people. So first, they're starting with a positive control.
Now, normally we certify our tasty, tasty MythBusters Cola as both a life-extending elixir and rat pee free. Until today. Today, 1,000 of these puppies are going to be set up as a rat run to be used as what we like to call a control for exposure to rat pee.
Adam and Jamie will hone their rat pee tracking technique before moving on to test real-world soda cans.
So why go to all this trouble to clean the cans just to have rats pee on them? Well, it's because all we want to find is rat pee, not random dirt or other false positives that may be introduced into our test. So we scrub every single one. And I gotta say, looking at 1,000 cans, there's a lot of dirt to be cleaned up.
Now that the cans are pristine, let the rodent incontinence begin.
This little guy right here is Rattus norvegicus, otherwise known as the dwarf rat or the sewer rat, the brown rat or the common rat. They're the dominant rat species in the northern hemisphere, and they were held responsible for the Black Plague in the Middle Ages, which killed tens of millions of people. However, technically it was the fleas they carried, not the rats themselves, that caused the plague.
And now it's their urine taking the blame. But is it deadly? The rats aren't shy in helping the guys find out.
Oh, I see some rat urine on a can.
Nice!
This is awesome.
This is one of those sounds that you'll only hear on MythBusters. Sound of 40 rats on 1,000 cans.
And after 90 minutes of the pitter-patter of ratty feet,
The rat party is wrapped.
Let's put them back in their cages.
there's certainly rat pee on those cans. And the first tracking technique? Blacklight.
Did you know that rat pee fluoresces under blacklight? Well, that's the next thing we're gonna do. We're gonna get some blacklights and go take a look for them. I feel like I'm one of those police procedural dramas.
And with plenty of glowing puddles,
It's gotta be urine.
Lights up like a pinball machine. Oh, this one is so gross. Look at that.
the boys are positive that the blacklight is the perfect way to pinpoint the pee.
Well, that's gross. I guess it's time to collect our real-world random samples now.
Well, we better get started. We've got 1,000 cans to collect from all over the city.
1,000. Okay, let's do it.
With their identification method lighting up the pee, the main test begins as the guys collect 1,000 cans from a variety of sources.
Perfect.
And a variety of storage conditions. Some upmarket, some not so much.
All set? We've got 1,000 cans collected from all over the city. We're gonna run the black light over them and test them the same way we did the controls, see what we get.
Oh. Check this out, man. First can, I see little fluorescing spotty spots.
That's a good sign.
I'm gonna put that in the... No, it's a bad sign. I'm gonna put it in the for further research category.
A sign that gets worse with every can.
Spots.
Oh, spots. The whole world is contaminated.
Spots.
What are we gonna do, dude? I mean, these can't be all contaminated. Can they?
Next, a myth that's sink or skim.
Well, you guys may have figured out by now that, well, me and Cars, we kind of have this thing. And there's a myth on the fan site that I really want to test out.
All right, what is it?
Are you familiar with the Cannonball films?
Yeah,
Sure.
from the 80s, right?
Okay, so it's the third installment that our myth comes from. The beginning of the movie, there's a red Lamborghini that is trying to evade the cops. Well, there's a lot of speeding and a lot of weaving and trickery, but man, the cops are not going to accept defeat. So what the sports car driver does is he drives off the road and heads straight towards the lake.
He totally floors it, skips across the water, makes it to the other side, and gets away from the cops.
Exactly.
I love it. Fast cars, skipping across the water. You should come here more often.
To flee the force, a speedy sports car skips the Lake Fantastic. But is this filmic fantasy or stone-cold fact? Could a 1.2-ton car really skim a pond like a skipping stone?
So what's the plan?
I have watched this scene over and over in slow motion. And what I have found that watching frame by frame and measuring points of reference, the car wasn't going very fast, maybe 50 miles an hour. It went off a little launch and skipped about 4 times over a 100-foot body of water.
Okay, sounds easy enough. We get a Lamborghini, drive it at 50 miles an hour, and see if it can skip across 100 feet of water.
Who is gonna let us borrow their $250,000 car and drive into a lake to test this? I mean, it's not gonna happen. This isn't gonna be easy.
No, it's not. But although you can't always get what you want, sometimes you get what you need.
What in the heck did she get that for?
That doesn't look like a Lamborghini.
Yeah, far from it.
Supercar it ain't, but it's still a perfect stunt stand-in. On price tag and top speed, the luxury car has ours beat. But for this myth, what's key is that the surface area, weight, and weight distribution are almost identical. But because nobody is volunteering to drive it into a lake, our resident control geek gets to work.
I got a plan. I got a plan.
With Grant's remote control under control, Tari's talking tracks.
Now for this myth, as well as a car, we need 2 things. One, we need a long, straight road that we can get this car up to some pretty high speeds. And 2, at the end of that road, we need a 100-foot pond for this car to try to skip across. Now, we've looked all over San Francisco. We've looked all over California, and we've come up with nothing, which means only one thing. Road trip, baby. Wouldn't it have been easier if we could fly?
With local lakes few and far between, the team hits the road to a familiar location. The last time the team visited the test track of Freightliner, they put some big rig myths to the test. With open space and miles of trackway, it was the perfect place to put their lives on the line. And this time they've added a crucial addition to the end of the track, a giant purpose-built pond, ideal for a sports car to skip. Only not this one. This is just for show.
Why'd you stop? We're supposed to skip it.
Yeah, but that's why we have make-believe Lamborghinis.
Where did you get that car?
Well, a good friend let me borrow it.
Forget the car. What do you think about our pond?
This is a gorgeous pond. This is a little bit bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, we made it to the same dimensions as in the movie. 100 feet long, 27 feet wide, and 3 feet deep.
But you know, before we get to testing, since we can't use your Lamborghini, I got to get to work on the car.
All right, we need to talk about that ramp.
Yep, with a perfect pond to skim, Tori and Jesse break out the heavy machinery.
All right, so now what we're doing here is we are building a little ramp before we actually hit the water. Why? Because that's what they had in the movie. We can look at it as close as we possibly can. And that Lamborghini had a little bit of lift before it went across the water.
A little lift that equates to a movie-matching 8-inch mound. With that time lapsed into place, Jesse casts the first stone.
Now, this whole myth is about skipping a car across the water like a stone. I'm sure you've all tried it before. If you get a smooth enough stone and you fling it just right, it'll actually bounce across the water's surface. But why? Well, it's all about spin and speed. The spin on the stone stabilizes it and stops it from simply falling into the water. And if the stone is traveling at a fast enough speed, then each time it hits the water's surface and pushes some of the water downwards, the stone is forced upwards. So the stone continues to skip along the surface until eventually it runs out of speed and sinks.
So if skimming is all down to spin and speed, will a car that isn't revolving skip?
There's something that doesn't look quite right with this car. It doesn't look fast enough. That's a fast car.
We are ready to find out if this car is gonna skip. Is it gonna work? Probably not.
So for this test, we're doing everything like they did in the movie. We're going 50 miles an hour, we're taking it off a little jump, and we're gonna hopefully skip it across water. But what I think is gonna happen is it might skip once, maybe, probably not. Probably not. It's not gonna make it to the end either way.
Well, all is about to be revealed. As Jessie heads to her vantage point, a clearly excited Grant starts the engines,
The car is armed. This is it, you guys.
and Tori gives the countdown.
The car skipped just like in the movie. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, hit it.
Dirty rats. They're everywhere. But are these crafty rodents leaving disease-ridden calling cards on soda cans? Well, after examining 1,000 cans from all over San Francisco,
Starting to lose my appetite.
Adam and Jamie are worried.
So where does this leave us? Am I lying on a mountain of rat pee infested cans? Are we gonna need to add it as an ingredient on every soda can? Or did we just happen to see a bunch of other run-of-the-mill things that happen to fluoresce under blacklight? Well, the only way we're gonna know is by taking testing to another level. Clearly, we need to swab the top of our sample and take it to a lab and find out what's on top of them for sure.
First up is the rat pee positive 1,000 can control.
I'll tell you one thing. I am never letting my rats play on my soda cans again. The things you learn on this show.
Using a sterile swab dipped in sterile water, each can is swabbed and then a vacuum extracts the sample.
I gotta tell you, this may be boring and it may be painful, but it's also really cool.
Yeah, this is so much fun I can hardly stand it. And that's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Dude, I'm so glad it's done. I'm exhausted.
Oh, oh, it's like a concentrated pet store. That's what that smells like.
The lab should show that their positive control is brimming with rat pee. But will the random cans also have rodent remains? Or did the blacklight get it wrong?
You gotta try the one-handed bag opening can flip I got going on over here, Jamie. It's really saved me time.
I can see that.
That is my last can. I'm done. I'll see you later.
Okay.
Eventually, with both samples collected, the MythBusters head to Stanford University,
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
where Chris Adams and his mass spectrometer find out just how the two compare. This meticulous machine will detect exactly what each sample contains, rat pee or otherwise.
The results are in.
We're done?
The results are here.
First up is the positive control.
We identified 15 proteins specific to rat urine in the positive control samples.
Urinary proteins, that would be rat pee.
That's rat pee.
Okay.
But what about the reason we're here?
Yeah, was there any urine on the random sample?
Absolutely none detected.
The real world cans are clean.
They are.
That is a load off my mind. Let's go get some sodas.
Turns out the black light had it wrong. That glowing organic matter? Not rat pee, but harmless dust. The mass spectrometer, however, is completely precise.
This machine is capable of detecting peptides on a femtomole level, something like 1 in a bazillion, or in other words, it's extremely sensitive. So if it says rat urine's not there, it ain't there.
But given that millions of sodas are drunk every day, Jamie's not prepared to call this without a second opinion. He wants to find out if you could ever contract a deadly pathogen via a soda can.
So how likely is it you can catch one of these bugs in this way?
Highly unlikely. In the case of leptospirosis, number one, the usual route of transmission is through broken skin that comes into contact with contaminated bodies of water. Number two, the organism, when ingested orally, is rapidly killed in the stomach. Okay, so finally, Leptospira is highly fragile and it is rapidly killed when it's exposed to a dried environment.
So even if infected urine did make it onto a soda can, the pathogen would be long dead before anyone took a swig. And it turns out the same is true of hantavirus.
The usual route of transmission is the aerosol droplets, so you have to breathe it in. If you swallow the virus, it's likely to be rapidly killed by the stomach acid.
That's 0 for 2 for deadly pathogens from soda cans. But the good doctor still advises caution.
Personally, I still wipe top of cans because you don't know where they've been, and you want to make sure that anything you put in your mouth is clean.
Advice to live by. But where does that leave the myth?
Hey, so what do you say?
Well, according to the good doctor, catching hantavirus or leptospirosis from rat pee on soda cans is all but impossible.
Well, that's great. You couple that with our results where we found not a smidgen of rat protein whatsoever on 1,000 randomly collected cans, and I think we can call this one busted.
Yeah, busted.
Usually when a car drives into water, it does anything but skip. But according to this myth, a supercar can leap a lake in 4 bounds. And at Freightliner HQ, our intrepid trio is about to put that to the test.
Car's armed.
Here we go.
We are about ready to take this and do exactly like they did in the movie, going 50 miles an hour, launching off the ramp, and skipping it across water.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, hit it.
Grant's actuators put the pedal to the metal, and the mustard menace takes off. As the car gains speed, Grant expertly steers it straight down a guideline.
45.
Until
50 miles an hour.
with a hop, a flip, and a thump, the car crosses the pond, but not quite as home.
That car didn't skip, it flipped. Oh my God. I don't think that was insane. Look at what it did though. It actually made it to the other side of the pond. That's not how it's supposed to do it. Wow.
Oh, wow. Oh my God, we destroyed this car.
Now, we matched pretty much every aspect of the movie. The ramp, the speed, the specifications of the car, and we got a completely different result. What this means is that the movie stunt was faked, that it wasn't a real skip across a lake. Now, the most likely scenario is that there was a submerged platform, just a few inches below the surface of the water, that the car actually bounced across. In addition, in the movie, the car lands on its rear wheels first. Now, the only way it could have gotten that trajectory is if it were specifically weighted for the stunt. Our car, on the other hand, was weighted to match a stock, off-the-lot 1980s era Lamborghini, and it plummeted nose first. All this to say, however you look at it, this myth is busted.
Busted indeed, but surely they're not going to leave it there. Next, Adam and Jamie go on a grime wave.
Relative filth, the myth and the plan, take one. Dude, this one's yours. You're leading this one in.
Can you remind me?
Yeah, most people think their toilet seats are pretty dirty.
Yeah.
This myth states that that's not necessarily the case, that there are many other locations and things within your average person's immediate vicinity that are far filthier than their toilet seat. That's what we're going to test.
We're going to pick a bunch of different places, go out, take samples, grow cultures, compare the results, see what happens, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Shall we start?
Yeah.
Okay.
It seems every week there's a new claim about hidden household hazards. But are the microscopic critters on everyday items more menacing than the beastly bugs found on the old porcelain throne? Well, the MythBusters are on the swab. But where to start?
Now, you may be wondering, what are the criteria under which we chose the samples that we're just about to test? And it's actually pretty straightforward. We looked for objects that you touch every single day that others might touch too.
Great. But since germs aren't visible to the naked eye, they'll need a way to track them down.
Allow me to demonstrate our sample collection methodology. It begins with a dry, cotton-tipped applicator with which I swab a 1-inch square of the object in question. In this case, it's a scale model of the lunar lander. Then I dip that cotton swab in tryptic soy broth for exactly 10 seconds. This is basically like a growth medium, a sterile growth medium. It's a liquid petri dish, if you will. At the end of 10 seconds, which is now, I remove the cotton swab, cap and label my soy broth. Later, I'll use it to try and grow some bacteria. Yuck! If you'll excuse me, I've got some samples to collect. First up, our yardstick, the toilet seat. Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow. 3, 9, 10 seconds.
Money. Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was white as snow.
They're not regressing. The rhyme ensures that each sample is swabbed for the same count.
Shopping cart handle.
Mary had
Kitchen sponge.
Everything they swab has one thing in common.
Had a little lamb.
hotel room remote.
In a plethora of reports, they've all been deemed dirtier than a toilet seat.
Keyboard.
Light switch.
But can that really be true?
Cell phone. Hold on a second.
With the Everyday 8 collected, the guys call in Dr. Russell Vance, an expert in microbiology.
You guys ready?
Ready.
Then let's begin.
Okay. Number 1, toilet seat.
A precisely pipetted amount of each broth is carefully transferred onto an agar Petri dish.
Into the incubator they go.
They'll sit there overnight at 98.6 degrees.
And tomorrow, after a steamy night of bacteria breeding, there should be plenty of germy growths.
Let's go.
The MythBusters are dishing the dirt,
And last but not least, cell phone.
testing the myth that everyday items are more germ-ridden than a toilet seat. And after a night of microbe multiplication,
The colonies that are growing in there could be anything. They could be yeast, mold, bacteria, whatever. So what we're going to do is count and record the different types of colonies and also the overall abundance of them. And based on that, we'll pick the dirtiest ones.
I see 2.
That's it? Just 2 from the toilet seat?
Just 2.
This is already getting interesting.
the toilet seat is remarkably clean. But that's not so true of the others, particularly the kitchen sponge.
Oh, dude, that is nasty. Have fun counting that. I'll see you next summer.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have that long, so Dr. Vance has a solution.
I think it's almost uncountable.
So then how do you write that down?
Well, I would say that's just off the charts.
The remaining 6 samples from cell phone to light switch are counted and logged.
Well, that's it. All present and accounted for.
Which means it's time to sum up the results.
So our everyday 8 swabs have become 8 petri dishes, which in turn have yielded 8 results. And those results are, in order from least filthy to most filthy. Can you editors help me out with a graphic here? That's better. So you can see at number 8, with only 2 colonies, is the toilet seat. Then the colony count increases only slightly until we reach number 4, the keyboard with 65. And from there on, things start to get really dirty as the colonies go through the roof with the light switch and the money, before finally topping the chart, we have the kitchen sponge. A sample so numerous we couldn't even count it. So does this mean that the kitchen sponge is the dirtiest thing in your house? Well, it actually all depends on what your definition of dirty is. I mean, sure, there's a ton of colonies, but suppose those colonies are all totally harmless, whereas the 2 colonies we found on the toilet seat are really nasty. What we need to know now is what we're looking at on those petri dishes. Luckily, we found a microbiologist to help us out.
Yep, it's over to Dr. Vance.
There you go.
Fabulous.
To find out exactly what kinds of ghastly germs lurk within our everyday 8. But how?
It starts here at the Berkeley lab, where we will prepare our samples for identification by isolating, amplifying, and cleaning up the 16S DNA. Now, 16S DNA is a gene common to all bacteria that we'll use to identify what species of bacteria we've got.
Using a pipette, I will pick up a piece of the colony that I want to test and deposit it in a solution of 100 microliters of buffer. I then take that solution and put it on what's called a heater block, where it will cook for 10 minutes. Now, this will cause the bacteria to lyse or to break apart. This will allow it to release its DNA. Now, while it's cooking, I'm going to mix a lovely cocktail of chilled polymerase, nucleotides, primer, and buffer into this little tube, to which I will add, once it's done cooking, my newly broken apart DNA. Now, this little tube contains everything I need for the PCR reaction. That's this machine right here. Over the next 2 hours, this machine will raise and lower the temperature between 60 and 95 degrees Celsius 35 separate times, each time doubling the amount of 16S DNA. Now that it's properly amplified, I take the DNA from this tube and deposit it into what's called a column, where I will spin it at 15,000 RPM for 2 minutes. This will actually separate out the crap we don't want from the DNA that we do, and it is this DNA, after a little bit of washing, that we will send to the lab for final identification.
It's a complicated process, but in 2 days, Dr. Vance should have the identities of our everyday 8 bacteriological culprits. Can a car skip a pond like a skimming stone? No, apparently not. But of course, the MythBusters never leave any stone unturned.
All right, so the scene as portrayed in the movie is busted. A car going that fast, hitting that ramp, there's no way it would skip to freedom.
But that's got me thinking, I wonder what it would take for a sports car like that to make it all the way across the water surface by skipping.
Well, that's why we have our patented small scale here at MythBusters. We'll take a 1/12 scale car, a 1/12 scale pond, we'll fiddle around with the parameters until it works, and then we'll take it full scale.
And those parameters include presence or absence of the ramp.
What are we waiting for? Let's go!
Speed, don't forget the speed.
And to find out exactly what it will take to skip a car, first they'll need a scale vehicle.
So, what I have here is a 1/12 scale Lamborghini. It is an exact replica in every detail except for one, the weight. They did not scale the weight correctly. All right, so right now, this weighs 4 pounds. I need to get it to 2 pounds. This is a pretty nice car. It kind of pains me to do this. Look at the detail on this thing.
It's a little auto shop of horrors as Tori strips his teeny turbo down to 2 pounds.
You're probably thinking to yourselves, it's not aerodynamic anymore. Well, this is how I'm gonna take care of that problem. I'm gonna use some tape to cover up all the holes. And that way, it'll it'll remain aerodynamic and light.
So with a streamlined supercar, how's the small scale gonna go down?
So I have this car jacked up. All I need to do is hit the gas and then stick this car underneath the wheel, which will fire it out just like a baseball pitching machine. It'll go down the track, into the trough, and skip across the water. At least that's the plan. I haven't really tested this yet.
As a final touch, Tori adds a bike speedometer to track the speed of the car when it's pushed into the wheel.
First things first, we're gonna set it up just like in the movie with a slight ramp and a scale car going at a scaled 50 miles an hour. Now, if it fails like our field test, then we know our scaling is accurate.
And with Jesse in the driver's seat, the first test is at 14 miles per hour or a scale speed of 50.
Here we go with 3, 2, 1.
Wow, that was exciting.
Maybe not, but off the ramp at 50 miles per hour, the car noses into the water, just like the Fullscale.
All right, so my theory is that we need to ditch the ramp and have the car come into the water at a lower angle. So for this next test, we're gonna do it at myth speed, 50 miles an hour or scale speed of 14 miles an hour. And we won't have the ramp, so we'll see if it works any better.
3, 2, 1. Woo! That was cool.
Indeed it was. That was a small-scale car skip.
Now, without the ramp going at 50 miles an hour, the car skipped. I mean, eventually it sank, but it did skip. So it's obvious the ramp is a hindrance. The shallower the angle of attack, the better for this. And I think if we get the car going fast enough, we're gonna get that little Lamborghini to skip the whole way. You ready?
Ready.
All right, go ahead and hit it.
So to do that, they upped the test speed to 20 miles per hour, or 70 scale.
20 miles an hour. All right, let's check the high speed. It actually made it across the pond.
At 70 miles per hour, the teeny turbo skims the entire trough. And that's giving them ideas for full scale.
Faster is better.
Yeah, I mean, it might actually, this might actually work if we get the car going fast enough. And I'm sure we could do something about it, scooping down into the water if we had something
On
to
the
keep
front
it
to
up.
keep it up so it's not actually like nosing in.
Yeah,
Well, for kicks and giggles, should we try and go faster?
like 100 miles an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hit it. 20, 28. Holy crap!
Tori's right. At 100 miles per hour, the model car skips and would skip again, except it runs out of trough.
Check out this high speed. At 28 miles an hour, which is 100 miles an hour for a real car, the car is skipping across the water, which means speed is going to be a huge factor when we go to do this full scale. But this is just small scale. I mean, this is a toy we're using right now. When we go to full scale using a car weighing 2,600 pounds, who knows what's going to happen?
Dirt. It's everywhere. You can't run and you can't hide. But is there more frightening filth lurking on everyday items than on your toilet seat? Adam and Jamie are finding out, and the results are in.
For those of you playing at home, it is finally time to count down the everyday 8. Now, this is the table based solely on colony count. And as you can see, kitchen sponge off the charts is the filthiest thing we found. Toilet seat, the cleanest. But check out what happens to this list when we account not only for the number of bacterial colonies, but also for how nasty they might be. Toilet seat moves up a couple of notches, specifically because while it only had 2 colonies, those colonies were actually pretty nasty. The other 2 big movers, hotel remote control, moved down because it had some colonies, but they weren't actually bacteria, and the cell phone moved up because what was on it was pretty nasty. But staying strong at number 1, kitchen sponge, which had this stuff, which is apparently really bad if you have a weakened immune system. James Franklin Heinemann, what do you think?
Nice work, but I don't think we can call it yet. I mean, it's only a single solitary swab. We need a larger sample size.
All right, well, let's say we choose the top 5, toilet seat as a control, plus the 4 top contenders, and do a really nice large sample size with those. Our filthy 5.
Works for me.
So to expand their sample size, they're off to UC Berkeley, where a class of microbiologists are about to start MythBusting 101.
Hello. Hello. We need your help. We've selected several surfaces that we're calling the Filthy 5. Now, these are surfaces that people come into contact with on a daily basis. And the question we need to answer is, how dirty are they? That's where you come in.
Now, in order to get a nice big fat sample size, we need 50 of you to collect us samples from the following: toilet seat, a light switch, a kitchen sponge, money, and a computer keyboard. Can you guys help us?
Yeah!
Awesome.
And with a hunger for the filthy 5 facts, our mob of microbiologists quickly get the swab done.
Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow.
Then, once again, the samples are transferred to the Petri agar, incubated, counted, and finally DNA tested. So far, in the Cannonball Run caper, we've seen a spectacular flip, but there's been no skip. But after small-scale success, this myth is far from sunk.
In the small scale test, we did learn a couple of important things.
Yeah, first thing is that the ramp has got to go. We need to glide onto the water surface as seamlessly as possible, so the ramp is out.
And also, speed is a very important factor here. The faster the car is going, the better chances it has of getting across the pond.
Now, how fast are we talking? We're talking rocket fast?
No, it's actually surprising how little speed we need. All we would have to do is get another sports car, take it to the max, and it should make it across the water.
But just in case, why don't I add some nitrous just for the extra little kick?
Perfect.
Wait, yes, I think I see some radio controlling in my future.
It's like you're a mind reader.
Yep, Grant's the controlling type, and luckily the team has found just the thing for test 2.
So we pretty much know what went wrong with the first car. And believe it or not, we got a second car of the same vintage, and this one is as good as gold. In fact, it is gold. But before we can take it back to Madras for a second try, I've got to do a little radio control magic. Now, after its trip across the water, I managed to salvage the control system. And here it is. Now all I have to do is install this in the second car, and we'll be ready to go. Since I've already done this once, it should be pretty easy.
Once again, it's a simple setup of servos, cylinders, and wiring.
Which one is it? The brown wire, the other brown wire, or the other brown wire?
And while Grant's installing his system, Jesse is giving the horsepower a boost.
Okay, so what we have here is a normal engine. Air comes in, mixes with fuel, and then is dispersed down into the cylinders. Now we need this little engine to go as fast as we can possibly make it go. So we're gonna be adding nitrous. Now what nitrous does is it's added into the mixture, helping cool it down, giving it a more dense charge. It adds more oxygen, all of this making the rate of combustion happen a whole lot faster, which in turn makes this little car go as fast as we want it to go. It's the most convenient place to put an engine, don't you think? Especially the trunk. Easy access. And right now I'm drilling holes to where the nitrous is actually going to be dispersed into the port. So these holes will be drilled, tapped, and then these little foggers will go in, and then the nitrous will be hooked up to those little guys, and bam, we got power.
But for our resident rev head and metal fabricator, that's not the only modification to complete.
All right, well, one of the things that we found out during the big test is that the bottom of the car needs to be as smooth as possible. Now, this car wasn't too bad to begin with, but we're gonna give it its best possible chance. So we're adding a huge piece of sheet metal all the way from the front of the car to the back of the car, and hopefully the water will just be able to disperse right off of this plate. So wish us luck.
By cutting down drag, the sheet metal underbelly should give the car an even better chance of skipping.
Wow, that has totally covered the whole bottom of the car. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, you know, looking at the skipping stones, it's like a smooth, gradual edge is better than a sharp edge. And what we have right now in the front looks like a water scoop.
Yeah, it's like a big shovel. So basically what I think I'm gonna do is take some sheet metal and run it up and around so it'll give us that nice rounded edge, and then it'll cover all of these holes that'll kind of dig into the water. So.
That's perfect. This is gonna skip like a charm.
Yeah.
Because Jesse also needs to soup the supercar, Tori takes over to give the nose cone his own special touch.
You know what would make this car more awesome? Flames. Because everybody knows that cars with flames are more awesome. See? I told you.
While flames undoubtedly add style, Jesse's NOx system will add much-needed speed.
All right, now being the fact that this is an older car, it's not gonna wanna get up to the speeds that we really want it to. So adding this nitrous is definitely gonna help us get across that water, especially by looking at all of our past tests. We need as much speed as we can get. So this is just gonna be one of those added benefits. So basically all I gotta do is hook up the nitrous, tap into the fuel lines, wire it, and it's ready to go. It's very, very simple.
Okay, so the car is looking great. The radio system's in, Jesse's added the sheet metal on the bottom to reduce the drag, and the NOS system to increase the speed, and Tori has finished the nose cone. Now all we have to do is go back to Oregon and see once and for all if we can get a car to skip. What could possibly go wrong?
Skipping. Kids can do it, insects can do it, even a well-aimed stone can do it. But can a car weighing over a ton do it? Well, the MythBusters are back at Freightliner HQ to find out.
This ain't built for comfort, that's for sure.
But man, it sure looks good.
They've souped up their supercar to give it the best chance of a skip. But there's still one more modification to make.
The first thing I have to do is get rid of this ramp. I'm gonna get my big digger and knock this thing out of here.
Counterintuitively, ramping up this test means getting rid of the ramp.
Who said TV's not glamorous? Now, is this car gonna skip like that rock? You know what? I think it just might happen.
But that's going to take speed, just what Jesse's been working on.
This little wire right here, this is the Go Baby Go wire. Now, my only concern is that this system gives out over 100 horsepower boost to the engine. That's basically doubling this little guy's horsepower. So, my concerns lie in the fact of possibly blowing up before it actually hits the water, but I have faith that it's actually gonna make it all the way. Mostly.
In my mind, it's gonna have this huge rush of power coursing through the veins of this little car, and it's just going, and it's gonna make it exponentially harder to control. So I could potentially have a rocket on my hands. Hopefully, I'll be able to guide this supercharged automobile over the water.
Yep, this time controlling the car will be tricky. Thanks to the nitrous, it'll be traveling at twice the speed of the last test. And if the car is traveling fast enough, each time it hits the surface, forcing water downward, the opposing force of the water pushing up on the car should propel it forward. At least, that's the theory.
Nitrous bottle is now open, system engaged. Nothing's gonna happen until you push your go button.
All right.
Right?
No turning back now.
Grant nervously makes his last-minute checks, and then it's go time.
All right, time to turn on the car.
My heart rate just went up when he started that engine. I'm ready to do this.
Yep, and with only one car, the guys have one shot to get it across the lake.
And we're gonna put it in drive.
The vehicle is in drive.
Yay!
Okay.
Dude, has it hit you yet? We are about to skip a car across a pond. This is crazy, man.
This is totally crazy.
We're like Thelma and Louise.
We are?
I just say dumb things when I'm excited.
Okay.
In 3, 2, 1, hit it.
Okay, brakes off. And here we go.
It's make or break time. Grant builds up the speed, then presses the Go Baby Go button.
Here goes the nitrous.
The car surges forward, and then when it reaches the edge of the lake, physics take over.
No! We skipped a car across the lake!
The MythBusters understandably can't contain their excitement. That was a full-scale car skip. The high speed shows the supercar skip twice across the 100-foot lake and then continue to drive on the far bank. That is, until Grant remembers to apply the brakes.
Yes! It's crazy. I was piloting in the car, we hit the water, I saw a big splash, like, okay, we hit the water. And then the water went down and the car was still driving on the other side. We did it! We skipped!
And this little guy, I'm so proud of it. I am so proud of it. We doubled its horsepower, more than doubled its horsepower, and it's still running. Look, I'm so happy.
We did it! We set out to skip a car and we actually did it. I mean, the small scale said it would work, but we didn't believe it. But we brought it out here and it did it. It did exactly what the small scale did. Seeing is believing. I can't get over this. We actually skipped a car across the pond.
It's so awesome that they're both still running.
I can't believe it worked!
I know. We got a car to flip and skip. All right, last minute of the shot. I know a shortcut. Go, 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 go!
You guys, that was pretty awesome. I have never seen anything like that before. I mean, we totally replicated the result, and we got a car that weighs over a ton to bounce across the surface of a pond.
I know, and how cool was that high speed?
Absolutely. But you know the most amazing thing is how little it actually took to do it. I mean, that was a 15-year-old car going a little bit more than highway speed. No rockets, no special tires, no ramp, and no underwater platform. And it skipped across the lake.
Just like the small scale said it would.
I agree. However, I'm with Grant. I just cannot believe how easy it was to do. In fact, it's so easy, I think we really need to stop and say, do not try this at home.
Yes, but let's keep in mind, the movie is still busted.
Of course, going 50 miles an hour with a ramp and you're going for a swim.
Yeah, but you get rid of that ramp, you put the pedal to the metal, and you just might make it home safe and dry.
Yep. You know what I think? I think we need to look at that high-speed shot one more time.
Absolutely, because with results like these, we're skipping over ourselves to show you them again. But spectacular high speeds aside, let's not forget that there's another dirty story awaiting conclusion. And after a swathe of swabs and a deluge of DNA tests, that conclusion is at last cooked.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is finally time for the Filthy 5 countdown. In order from cleanest to dirtiest, and starting at number 5, we have the light switch. Number 4, our control, the toilet seat. Number 3, the keyboard. Number 2, money. And the number 1 dirtiest thing of everything that we tested, he's back on top after a year of hard training. Jamie, come on in and name number 1.
The kitchen sponge. Where does that leave us?
Well, given the myth that there are everyday things in your house that are far filthier than your toilet seat, I'd say it's totally confirmed.
Confirmed it is.
Give me that. Amateur.
didn't even think that was possible.
Why is he here?
I don't know, but I would just get on with it.
So, I could be mistaken, but I'm getting the sense that we're doing something with guns?
You are totally right. Specifically, shooters with seemingly supernatural abilities with guns. Later on, we've got a story about a guy who fires bullets that he holds in his hand while he holds his hand in a fire.
So the bullets are like between his fingers?
Exactly. But first up, we have a sort of a classic movie Hitman trope in which Hitman is tracking his guy. His guy goes behind a wall, but it turns out to be no barrier for the Hitman. He knows where he is, tracks him, shoots through the wall, and right through his prey.
So we want to find out whether or not a bullet would go through a wall easily, and whether you can actually track somebody behind the wall without seeing them.
Exactly. I've been wanting to do this story for so long. It is going to be awesome. Now, you might imagine that we would test this by going to a shooting range, setting up a wall, pulling out some guns, and just blazing away at it with all the ammo we can bring to bear. But we need to get scientific. We need to look at a wide range of walls and figure out just how bulletproof, on average, they actually are. We need to go back to the shop and get scientific about this.
That's too bad. I was having fun.
Yep. Now, when we're talking about shooting through walls, the word wall could mean many, many different things based on when and where the building you're in was actually constructed. Ah, too big, too big. The walls could be made of different materials, and they could have lots of different things inside them. Starting to look like something. We want a broad representation of walls to shoot at, so I've assembled all the materials walls have been built out of over the last 100 years. The house I grew up in was all lath and plaster. Ah, the old crafts. As well as a lot of the things, electrical boxes, insulation. I hate fiberglass insulation. Wiring and plumbing that you'd find inside those walls. Hey, that's awesome, it fits. When does that ever happen? With this, we should be able to make the targets that we need to find out just how bulletproof, or not, walls actually might be. Almost ready for shooting. Now it's ready for shooting, and so am I. Decided to come in costume as the man in black, the man of mystery, the man you don't want to see at your doorstep.
Normally, when we're using guns, we come to a firing range. But because we're going to be firing into walls, these bullets may behave, well, unpredictably.
I think it looks pretty good.
So instead of using the normal targeting range, we're going to go off to one end where we can safely control what happens.
It's time to introduce you to the ammunition and pistol we'll be using today for the experiment. The bullets we'll be firing are standard high-velocity hollow point rounds. They'll be fired from a standard double-action 9mm pistol used by the military and law enforcement the world over, and also a staple of action movie heroes. Here we go. And you know that's true because you heard it from the Hitman. Did I pull that off?
The panel we'll be shooting into is composed of the kinds of things that you would find in a standard wall, from sheetrock to a solid wood stud, sheet metal stud, sections with plumbing fixtures, and lastly, an electrical box. Now, we'll be firing bullets out of this 9mm pistol into those sections. I guess that ought to do it. Of course, for safety, we'll be triggering this from behind the blast shields.
Now, we don't just want to shoot at walls, we also want to witness what happens when the bullet and the wall meet. Thus, we've set our high-speed camera perched carefully above, looking down through the inside of the wall. We've also chosen an extremely high frame rate of 17,000 frames per second. That's one of the highest frame rates we've ever used on the show. All will be known by this rig.
And with a steel backstop,
It makes a cool noise when a bullet hits it.
their 6-in-1 interior wall mock-up is ready to go. Will any of them halt a Hollywood hitman? First up, a blast from the past. Lath and plaster.
I actually think that lath and plaster is going to do pretty good in slowing the forward progress of the bullet. Range is high. Whether it stops completely, I can't say. Count it down. But I do think it's going to provide a nice barrier.
Okay, 9mm into lath and plaster in 3, 2, 1.
Well, it did the classic small entry wound, larger exit wound, but it looks like it came out pretty straight.
With the bullet's trajectory unaffected and the velocity hardly hindered, the oldie wall would have provided no protection for our hitman's hidden target. And that sounds good for the myth.
Made a resounding clang when it hit this backstop. I guess that means that you would probably get penetrated by that bullet.
Up next.
All right, let's slide this puppy down.
Will this more modern, eco-friendly fortification fare any better?
This test is against 2 layers of drywall. Range is hot, with about 3.5 inches of fiberglass insulation between them. Nice.
Right through the square, heard the ding of the steel. Couldn't have gone better.
More good news for the myth. 2 targets taken down, and no sign the bullet has been significantly slowed or in any way altered.
I love that sound.
A result replicated when the sheet metal and wooden studs are also found to be duds. But now, it gets interesting.
Next up is the first time our bullet's going to encounter an actual object inside the wall, and that is copper plumbing.
We're gonna hit it right there.
And this is the reason for all of our safety shields. The bullet could spatter in a lot of different directions when it hits this. Firing in 3, 2, 1. Oh, that looks like a perfect hit.
A perfect hit through and through. With the bullet's trajectory and speed only marginally affected, the myth that a hitman can hit his hidden target is still looking good. But what about the toughest target yet? A steel junction box.
Oh! Oh, yes. Oh, you're gonna love this. The whole story of the bullet's stoppage is apparent in this one shot, which we will cut to right.
It took a solid piece of steel in exactly the right place to halt the bullet's momentum and disperse its kinetic energy. But clearly, this is the exception and not the rule. The myth is on track.
I have to say I'm pretty surprised at the results, that only one of our in-wall obstacles, the electrical box, actually stopped the bullet cold. The rest made it through. Now, what that means for the myth, as walls are okay to shoot through if you're a hitman, from my vantage point, it's looking pretty good for the myth.
And so it's back to the shop, where our hard-to-please professional is waiting for an update.
So is that it?
No. We actually have a few more tests to do before we finally call shooting through walls, but we're now jumping to the second story in this episode.
It's from a movie called Shoot 'em Up. I am dead on about who you are, right?
Say that again.
I said, I am dead.
Stop. That part of it you got right.
At the end of the movie, our hero is cornered. It looks like he is dead. He doesn't even have a gun. But what the bad guy doesn't know is that the hero has a handful of bullets. Shoved between his fingers, he thrusts his hand into the fire, and 2 seconds later, no more bad guy.
What was that?
We were reenacting the movie.
Oh,
What we want to find out is, one, can bullets go off that fast in a fire? Two, if they can, could you aim them? And three, are they remotely lethal?
So which one of you geniuses is going to stick his hand in the fire?
Well, we haven't thought that far ahead yet.
Well, whatever. I've got a plane to catch.
Shall we start testing?
Sure.
For that, Adam and Jamie hit their all-time favorite location to cause a commotion.
Lots of goats. They don't seem to mind the fact that my jacket is made out of them.
To set off this myth, the first item on the menu is a controlled fire.
Even a simple fire can be fraught with difficulties and dangers that are unforeseen. That's why, one, we've come out here to the Alameda County Sheriff's bomb range to set this fire. Two, we put it in a barbecue. And three, Jamie and I are wearing all the proper safety equipment to make sure nothing gets out of control. Safety is always of the first priority to us. We don't like to let anything get out of control.
All right, that's more like it. That's a nice little fire.
After the flames have died down, it's time to get cooking. And they're starting out hands-free.
Like we often do on MythBusters, we try to remove variables so we can isolate what exactly we're seeing. And in this case, that means we're taking a single bullet, attaching it to a rod, and inserting that into the fire.
But they're also playing it safe. The single round being baked has had the projectile removed. The empty case and primer will react to the heat, but no one's in danger of being shot. Yet. Question is, will the ignition match the movie?
Now, there are three things that we will be testing in this fire test with the bullet shell casings. You ready to do this?
Yeah.
One is, will the shell casing go off in the fire? Two, will it go off exactly where our hero is holding his hand in the film clip? He holds his hand just about 3 inches above the logs, right in there. And three, will it go off in 2 seconds? Okay. Shell casing test in 3, 2, 1. That's longer than 2 seconds.
5. We know that the chemical in the bullet primer ignites at about 300 degrees or above. 15.
That's just where he was holding his hand.
But the thing is, it's surrounded by metal, and that metal is insulating it from the 1500 degree plus heat in the fire. 20.
Jeez, crow.
25.
It's right in the fire.
Now, eventually the metal does heat up, and it gets that primer to its 300 degree plus.
There it goes.
And it goes off. 43 seconds.
43 seconds. That's a lot.
It did go off, but it took its sweet time. Time our Hollywood hero would not have had. But Adam and Jamie aren't giving up. Up next, it's go big, but not at home. The movie Shoot 'em Up looks like it's being shot down.
Well, the results of our movie parameter test are in, and the 2-second time is totally out.
43 seconds.
But the fire gets a lot hotter inside among the hot coals. I think we should do another test to find out if there's any place in this fire where we can get the bullet to go off in 2 seconds. And frankly, I predict we totally will.
So for test 2, Jamie stokes the fire.
Mommy, I don't like barbecues at Jamie's house.
Because this time they're baking the bullet deep among the coals. A temperature differential from test 1 of 800 degrees.
All right, sir, you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm going all the way in this time. Looking for the hot spot. Looking for something close to 2 seconds. 3, 2, 1.
2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Those didn't sound like regular seconds. What kind of seconds were you counting there? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? What kind of seconds are those? Who counts like that? What was the time?
10 seconds.
10 seconds.
For due diligence, the guys try 3 more times. But their fastest fire is still pedestrian.
8 seconds.
8 seconds. Well, you can color me surprised at the end of this testing.
We exposed our bullet to every part of this fire that we could imagine and couldn't get it to detonate in any less than 8 seconds. I think we've definitively proven that there's no way a bullet is going to go off in that fire in 2 seconds flat.
Yeah.
I mean, it will go off, but not in 2 seconds.
Even exposed to the hottest heart of the fire, at temperatures no human hand could survive, the primer did not reach its flash point in anything like the time it took in the movie.
I think we could use a hand on this story.
But although one facet of this film fable is an obvious fiction, the guys aren't done yet.
Well, it's true that the timing of the hand in fire is busted. Nevertheless, I've got to find out whether bullets fired in that manner are both accurate and lethal. So to do that, I need a hand that I can heat up safely.
Yep, Dr. Franken-Hahnemann is making a heat-resistant human hand.
Well, I've got a good start with the grinder, but from here on in, it's mostly going to be blacksmithing. One of the joys of doing this kind of work is, first, there was nothing, and then there was something.
That something being an adjustable, articulated hand able to realistically grip bullets between each finger. Detailed and disturbing work the doctor clearly enjoys.
I've left a texture that is not unlike the wrinkles in my finger, and where it kind of smooths out all over the knuckle, I've done that with a blob of weld. It's all very fast and crude, but it gives it a strangely organic look for it being all metal.
For added accuracy,
it fits like a, you know what.
A leather glove that grips like skin is heat molded onto the metal skeleton. And to gauge human-like strength,
position number 1 between the thumb and index finger.
Adam sets a calibration benchmark with his own grip.
8.1 pounds. This force gauge here holds what's called a peak value. That is the most amount of weight that it took since you last pressed 0. Now, I will put the bullet on this string on the force gauge and hold it between 2 fingers as hard as I can until it lets go. Ah! Ow, ow. And then I read that value entered into this chart.
With the data handed over, Jamie mechanically matches Adam's grip strength to his metal digits.
A couple of minor adjustments, and I think we should be all set.
And this myth is all set to go off.
It's perfect.
But first, there's some unfinished business for our wall-shooting hitmen.
Now that we've determined exactly how porous walls are and that bullets will most likely make it through them, it's time to deal with what's on the other side. So, you are the good guy, the camera, you're people watching TV, and you're looking at a wall, and there's a bad guy behind. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Now, that bad guy is gonna move behind the wall, and you've gotta shoot him. How are you gonna do that? We figured there's 2 methods that you could use. One is you could watch him run behind and make an assumption that he's going to maintain his speed, bang, and try and shoot him. Or you could listen for the sound of his footsteps and use your natural powers of triangulation to make an assumption about where he is and shoot there. I'm not sure if either one of those is going to work, but in either case, it's going to require a rig with a motorized dude on it. The dude. How you doing, dude? Isn't a very handsome dude. Something kind of like this. Walk, walk, walk.
So, bullets can penetrate an interior wall. But is hitting your target as easy as Hollywood would have us believe?
That is so weird.
To find out, the team is testing 2 mythical methods. First up, target tracking.
Here's how this test is going to work. Our target, that's me, will always start every test by moving from a visible position to an obscured position.
The operator will be able to control the position of the target with this joystick, and he'll be able to see what he's doing through this monitor.
The shooter must use trajectory tracking and their intuition to surmise where the target might be behind the wall and attempt to shoot them through the wall. Beautiful.
Okay.
There are 2 restrictions in this test. One is shooter can't start shooting until the target's past that yellow and black line. All the action happens on that side. And only 1 bullet at a time.
This first test is going to be pretty basic. I'm going to be moving the target at what amounts to walking speed continuously.
Jamie, you ready to start this?
I am.
Gun is loaded. Safety is off. Range is hot. All right, count me down, sir.
3, 2, 1.
Stop. Let's see if I hit him. I'm gonna go inspect.
Well, it turns out with velocity tracking of an obscure target,
a perfect hit!
I'm actually pretty good. I got myself in the face on the first try.
A perfect hit.
But maybe Adam got lucky. It's Jamie's turn.
Okay. Range is hot.
Time to double down on the data.
Let's go see if you hit me.
With nothing to go on but the projected trajectory of the target, how did Heinemann the Hitman fare?
Yeah.
Nice! Right there, took out my left lung.
Adam and I both got what might have been kill shots on our first go, but that was following a consistent movement. So that obviously is the best case scenario. Look at that. Nice little boo-boo. The reality is going to be more like somebody is starting and stopping. Who knows what they're doing back there? And the only thing you might have to go on is sound. So that's what we're going to try next.
The Hitman.
Give me that.
The ultimate Hollywood anti-hero. With a seemingly supernatural ability, he always gets his mark. Or does he? Sounds like it's time for test 2.
This test is going to be pretty much like the last one, except that the target is going to be moving all over the place, and the only thing that the shooter will have to go by is the sound of footsteps.
Can I hear a test of that?
With the fake footstep audio coming from a speaker attached to the target,
I can kind of hear it go.
the setup is complete.
In theory, I thought this would be pretty cool. In practice, it's far cooler. What do you think, 1 shot this time, or how about 3 shots?
Yeah, let's up the ante.
Okay, cool. All right, so you ready?
I'm ready.
You're wondering how we're going to do a test about hearing for footsteps when we're wearing hearing protection to protect ourselves from the sound of the gun going off.
Excellent, sounds loud and clear.
These earmuffs I use are military grade, and they have a really cool feature. Actual microphones that play sound into the muff so I can hear stuff in the world until a gunshot happens, and then they cut out to protect me from the loud sounds. Also, it's 2 separate sound chips, one on the right, one on the left. I actually can fully triangulate while wearing these, so that's what we'll be wearing for this test. Oh, what's that over there?
I must admit, I'm a little surprised that both Jamie and I got successful kill shots on the first test. A perfect hit! But on the second one, I personally think it's gonna be a lot harder to triangulate the sound of footsteps behind a barrier. Count me in, sir. I'm giving myself only a 20% chance of actually hitting this thing.
3, 2, 1.
Let's see if I hit him.
Adam acoustically and intuitively tuned in to his target's tread and took him out.
Oh, looks like you got him.
No way.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Or not.
No, that was there before. That was from this, yes.
Oh,
Adam missed.
you survived this time, savage.
And you'll notice that he clustered 3 of his shots in one small area.
I'm not so sure that's the best approach. If I were doing this, which I'm about to, I'm ready. I think I'd be inclined to do a sweep across an area to try and bracket in the sound, because we can hear the sounds, but pinpointing it, not so much.
Despite the benefit of being able to adapt his tactics,
You missed him.
Yeah.
Entirely.
Jamie missed as well. So, while you can easily shoot through a wall, the real-world detail of the prey's unpredictable position makes hitting a moving target tough. And this myth is on the ropes.
But we have one more test up our sleeve. This is the spray and pray technique. We're going to unload an entire magazine of bullets at the wall while he's moving around behind the wall and see what his odds of survival are. I'll tell you one thing. I wouldn't want to be behind this wall during that. That was really fun.
But was it successful?
Nothing.
Not a single hit.
It seems shooting blind really is just a shot in the dark. But it is fun.
I can barely describe how much pleasure I get out of watching this rig go and out of shooting at it. And I'm not saying I couldn't have built this before we had MythBusters as a show, but the design and execution of this rig is something that could only have come out after all these years of doing this show. This is a direct result of our experience in setting up experiments, and honestly, this is one of my favorites.
Up next is the Heineman. And once again, learning from Adam's failed technique, he opts to pause between each round, relocate the target, and fire. But will this distinctly deliberate method pay dividends?
I was pretty sure that I could at least get one round into our target.
Hey, that looks like you might have gotten one hit. Yes, one hit in the elbow.
And, well, I did, but only one. I winged him.
You winged him. Turns out being behind a wall is a very safe bet, even if the wall is quite porous.
Following the sound of somebody's footsteps and trying to use that for targeting information, it's not really a very solid technique.
So what do you think? Have we answered the question of shooting people on the other side of the walls and how easy it is?
Well, mechanical moving targets are all well and good, but I don't think there's any substitute for the real thing. I think we ought to shoot at each other.
Maybe. Not with real guns, right?
Well, okay. Paintball guns.
Paintball guns. Okay, I think we could do that test.
A new test, a new day, and a new location for a spot of Hitman elimination.
Morning.
Morning.
Shall we get to work?
Yeah, let's do. We have brought you to an abandoned machine shop in Mare Island, California, to put all the disparate elements of this story back together for a nice, violent, fun-filled, family-friendly finale. Jamie, you want to tell the audience where we stand?
We've shown that a pistol round fired through an interior wall can potentially be lethal to somebody on the other side. And we've also shown that somebody moving at a consistent speed behind that wall can be fairly easily tracked and hit. Ah, look at that. Nice little boo-boo. But the minute they start to move inconsistently, the chances of being hit drop dramatically.
Nothing.
Not a single hit.
So it's time we ramp things up and use live human targets that are moving, namely Adam and I.
That's right. It's you and me, Heineman. Suit up.
Am I out? Aw, crap.
For this gunfight head-to-head,
so freaking cool.
Adam and Jamie are putting the human back into the experimental equation.
This last test is a classic cat and mouse.
We're building a Hitman fantasy camp.
Jamie and I are going to stalk each other through a labyrinth created of walls, making hallways, rooms, doorways, the whole kit and caboodle. Excuse me. We must try and win this stalking contest by shooting each other through one or more of the walls of our labyrinth.
Our walls are made of paper. Our weapons, paintball guns.
With help from their origami army.
Go ahead, Willie, pivot around.
And an artistic finishing touch or two.
Lovely.
The 8-room Assassin's Arena is ready for the showdown. But it won't be a free-for-all.
These are the rules. First, there's no time limit.
The winner is the first one to shoot the other through a wall.
We each only have one 8-round clip, so every shot counts.
Finally, during the test, we are not allowed to travel beyond the boundaries of the experimental space. So that we can hear each other, the piece de resistance is some special footwear, tap shoes.
Seriously?
Absolutely.
I've never worn those before.
That is the first fact about Jamie I've ever heard that does not surprise me.
And with the rules laid down, Adam and Jamie are all set for a Hitman hunt. To test Hollywood's idea of a handheld shoot-'em-up, the MythBusters need bullets, a helping hand,
it's perfect,
and dry experimental conditions.
Doesn't rain all week, and then when we go out to shoot, it's raining.
So let me introduce you to a little bit of how MythBusters conducts a shoot in the pouring rain. And we've actually set up 400 square feet of tent city here in the middle of our muddy field. Right there is our high-speed camera op. That's an expensive laptop and our $100,000 high-speed camera. The important cables are running up through the rafters. There is where Jamie and I will be standing behind the blast chamber shields. That's our experimental setup. Hopefully, it's dry enough to actually get this experiment off.
So if you hold bullets in a fire, they're going to take a lot longer than 2 seconds to go off. 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
But at this point, we haven't established what exactly they'll do when they do go off. And in the movie, the bullets are shown to be lethal. So that's what we've got to test now.
MythBusters during the monsoon season.
Despite the deluge, the team has a handle on the situation and is all set to fire up.
For this test, we've got a single bullet mounted on the hand right here, and I'm going to have a single flame coming out of this tiny copper tube. Let's try it quickly. When I pull on a cord, the flame will swing in, and we'll set off the bullet.
That's it. You're right on the bullet. You're right on the bullet.
This time, the round is live.
Come on, bullet. Come on, bullet.
With primer, powder, and projectile intact.
Ah, it just blew out. This program is rated frust. Frustrating.
In theory, they'll use the high-speed camera to capture the bullet's speed.
You're good. Still lit, still lit. Oh, it just blew out.
In practice, that's not happening.
Just goes to show, best laid plans of mice and men are often screwed up by the rain.
The wind and damp conditions are raining on their bullet-firing parade.
Come on. We brought heat to the party. It's time for you to do your part. Oh, come on!
That's amazing. It's right on the cap.
I know. Come on, bullet. We're now up to like the 3-minute mark.
Yeah, it's starting to burn the glove.
So it turns out our tiny little flame wasn't concentrated enough. The torch head we're going to use this time is called a pencil torch, and that means that it literally has a point on it that's similar to a pencil point.
Jamie, you're good to light it.
And I'm going to aim that right at the cap, and I think that'll get us where we need to go.
There it is. Hey!
That worked a lot better.
That was like within 10 seconds. That's what I wanted. Excellent.
At last, there's fire in the hole. But what does the data say?
Flame placement looks perfect. Oh. Let me see if I can't get a rough idea of speed here. The bullet's moving at 82 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Question is, why is it going so slow?
When you pull the trigger of a loaded gun, the bullet inside basically explodes. The resulting shockwave travels down the barrel and propels the bullet out. But without the gun to enclose and back up the cartridge, there's nothing to prevent it from simply expanding and rocketing backwards instead of pushing the bullet forwards, hence the low speeds of the bullet.
With no barrel to contain the energy, it disperses, and the bullet comes out at 10% of its usual velocity.
I don't think that's going to be lethal, but for due diligence, let's put our dummy in there and see what happens to him.
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Your days are numbered, dude.
So, will a handheld bullet accurately hit a target with lethal impact?
Awesome. We are close. Our villain is about to meet the business end of justice.
This test with a flesh-accurate ballistics gel dummy is going to find out.
Okay, coming in.
That's it. It's on.
I can hear it going.
Hey, there it went. I don't know if it hit him.
The early signs for accuracy are not good.
Well, I don't see any bullet holes.
I don't see any bullet holes, nor do I see any bullets.
This is a job for the high-speed camera.
Bang. Oh, it went way down. Boink.
Is it bounced off?
Actually, it looks like it's still there.
Apparently, the camera never lies.
It looked like it hit him. It looked like it hit him right in the middle of the chest.
But maybe it has.
I don't see what looks like any kind of break. I'm confused. I'm gonna look at high speed one more time.
Yeah.
It actually hits him right there. Spoink. And that is literally right here. Well, this is a mystery. This is right about where it looks like it hits, right?
Well, see any reason why I shouldn't excavate?
I don't see any reason why you shouldn't excavate. High speed says bullet entered the dude. We should cut him open and find a bullet. Let's see.
Okay, there it is.
Whoa, no way! Embedded in his chest. Amazing!
It's a satisfying and surprising result. But with such shallow penetration, it wouldn't have been lethal, merely painful.
I have to admit, I am totally astonished. This bullet, which I thought was gonna bounce off him like a rubber ball, ended up embedded an inch into his chest. If only our hero could hold his burning, fleshy hand in a fire until it melted and kept that pressure on, well, he might have just injured the villain. That is awesome. All right, let's count down the components of this story. Bullets going off in a fire in 2 seconds or less?
Busted.
Okay, what about the lethality or danger of those bullets after that?
Well, that is where it starts to get a little interesting. But no, it's still busted.
It's still totally busted. Dude, what are you doing?
I think I have an idea how to make all of these bullets go off.
No way, serious?
Yeah, you might want to clear out.
Okay, I'll turn this guy to be your target. There you go. I'll get behind the blast chamber shield.
Okay.
Awesome. I'm not sure what Jamie's doing, but he's got some cockamamie plan for getting all 4 of those bullets to go off at once. I really hope it works. Don't feel like we're done until we've replicated the exact thing we saw in the movie.
Last thing.
That looks flammable.
Okay, here we go.
Count it in.
3, 2, 1, go.
There it is. Dude, that looks like it's working a treat. I want to hear 4 bullets go off.
It may be a new way to sizzle the slugs.
Oh, there goes the glove.
But it soon turns into the same old story.
Seriously, I can't believe it's not going off.
I mean, yes, bullets can go off if you put them in fire, but this whole thing about having somebody put their hand in a fire and, I mean, come on.
Oh, there goes one. That was one. And now the hand just went, the hand's just
extinguished
itself.
Well, the hand burned exactly the way I wanted it to. It stayed alight in a very aggressive flame for several minutes. Unfortunately, only one of the bullets went off after quite a while, which says a lot about what happened in the movie. I mean, if it didn't do it here, with all of that fire for so long, I don't see how it could have done it the way that they showed it.
That's one myth done and busted. But still to come, a head-to-head Hitman showdown. It's showtime. One by one, our would-be hitmen are guided silently to separate, random locations in the arena. Can a Hollywood hitman,
gentlemen,
really locate and liquidate a wall-hidden target?
Are you ready?
With supernatural-like acoustic ability and intuition.
In 3, 2, 1, go.
It's a stalk to the death to find out.
Oh, I'm hit! He got my gun hand. He got me right in the wrist.
I've been looking forward to this test for a while, but that was far more scary and hair-raising and exciting than I ever imagined it would be. That's just stunning.
You might recall from our earlier testing, to track somebody moving behind a wall was fairly easy to do as long as you can anticipate their movement. Now, in this first game, I remembered that. I peeked out the doorway just in time to see him move behind a wall, and so I was able to actually track his movement, fire through the wall, and I hit him.
That was beautiful.
It worked, just like we learned.
So, the combination of a preliminary visual cue, audio location, and intuition does make it possible to pop your opponent. Good news for the myth, but Adam's not giving up yet.
Nicely done. Best out of 3?
Okay.
This is too much fun to give up after one try.
Love this game.
That's the cue for a fun and fear-filled test 2.
Looking down on this test from above, I'm struck by a couple things. One, how lovely it is with all the colors and all of the labyrinth.
Go.
But perhaps the most diabolically scary part of this test to me was the quiet. I open my eyes. I don't see Jamie. I hear little creaks, but that doesn't necessarily help because you're waiting somebody else out. You know that they want to kill you. And even though this is for play, it doesn't make it any less of an adrenaline rush to know that someone's got your number and they're looking for you and you are looking for them. It is really, really thrilling in a way that few tests that we have done on this show really deliver.
I'm hit. I'm hit. I'm hit in the leg.
This whole test came together quite beautifully.
Ugh, that was scary as hell.
Because in our earlier mechanical testing, we found only one technique that was effective.
He got me right in the knee. That is a totally incapacitating hit.
Well, you know, that's my personal style. You know, it sends a message. But here, with real human subjects, I found I had to put all of those techniques together. I used a little bit of sound to roughly locate where they were at. Once I did get any kind of hint of how they were moving, I tracked them, and then I sprayed. And putting all of those techniques together allowed me to win.
You've nailed it. I'm dead 2 out of 2. I'd say you are the absolute winner, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That was an awesome contest.
Well, it would seem that, just like the rest of the world, it is very difficult for me to get a bead on James Franklin Heineman. He seems to be a fan of shooting people in the joints. Maybe that's from when he used to be a loan shark. I don't know. But I couldn't hit him once.
How do you want to call it?
I gotta say, I'm surprised, but I think the Hitmen are onto something. Shooting through walls has far more efficacy than I began this myth believing.
Yeah, I agree. Interior walls don't offer much protection, do they?
No, they're far more porous than anyone thought. Let's get out of here. You coming?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Back across town, it's time to settle accounts.
You're going?
Shooting through walls confirmed. Shoot 'em up? Busted. See you on the next bounce, boys.
I don't trust that guy.
Neither do I. Let's get inside.
Three, two, one, go.
The MythBusters are defying death in the quest for flight.
It's not a question of whether we'll get badly hurt, it's how badly hurt.
And we're busy busting myths about ways to legally beat the police speed radar.
Well, it didn't disappear.
Are you surprised?
Absolutely.
Who are the MythBusters?
Am I missing an eyebrow?
Adam Savage.
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
And Jamie Heineman.
Quack, damn you.
I wouldn't say Jamie's an evil genius.
Between them, more than 30 years special effects experience.
When will the fun ever stop?
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. Ever since we realized we couldn't, humans have wanted to fly like the birds. Gliders, hang gliders, and parachutes have made non-powered flight possible.
Woo! I fart on you!
But is it possible for a man to fly accidentally?
Plywood builder. Walk me through this one.
Apparently a construction worker up on the top of a building was holding on to a 4x8 sheet of plywood on a windy day, and the wind picks him up off the top of the building over the edge. Not only does he manage to hold on to the plywood, but he controls it well enough to be able to land several floors below in the building unharmed.
Cool, flying myth.
Yeah.
What's the overall plan here? What are we going to end up doing?
Well, I think Buster's going for a ride with a sheet of plywood, but ultimately, if we can, one of us should take a ride.
You know, if I'm going to take that leap with a sheet of plywood as my only safety, I want to do some very serious testing before we do that. I mean, I'm thinking scale plywood and figure correct weights to scale and really see what kind of lift ratios we get out of this thing before we take that leap.
No matter what you're searching for, you'll probably find it in Jamie's M5 storage system.
Toys X.
If you look hard enough, you might even find a mini Buster.
Jamie, there's a guy here who seems kind of perfect.
It's a toy prototype built by Jamie.
I think we should go for the goatee, but that's just because I like a goatee.
Mini Buster is the right height, but is he the right weight?
I am roughly 6 feet at 180 pounds.
Thought you were 190.
Okay, I'm just using some easy, I'm 190. Let's say, stand 85th percentile male, right? 6 feet, 180 pounds. Proportionally, that's 72 inches to 180 pounds. 10 inches tall, 25 pounds. I just did the math. I need him to weigh 25 pounds.
So you're saying that he needs to be built out of depleted uranium?
Do you have some? Is it under D or U over here?
Adam figures he should be calculating volume, not size. So in fact, Mini Buster is close to being the right weight. The small scale testing also needs a sheet of mini ply.
Just almost exactly 50 pounds.
We're weighing a piece of plywood so that we can replicate this in a small scale.
But even this tiny piece of ply is proportionately too heavy. Christine reduces its weight by drilling lots of small holes.
Okay, there we go. Perfect. This is a scale replica of what, say, Adam or I with a full-size sheet of plywood would be if we were 10 inches tall.
A high-speed camera will shoot Mini Buster falling in front of a scale rule. A computer will then calculate his drop rate. The test is repeated with the mini ply.
Okay, Christine. So what did we learn with the drop tests of the miniature Buster rig?
Well, the plywood slowed him down about 25%.
25% from a fall with nothing, right?
Yes.
Just a human falling.
Yes.
But 25% slower is still not slow enough. If they tried the plywood myth themselves,
the best that we would be able to accomplish, it sounds to me, is just broken legs and arms, but maybe not a broken back or a smashed skull.
I'm willing to settle for that.
It's too big a risk for a human, but no problem for Buster. That's once his rubber crash test dummy hands have been swapped for some plywood-grabbing clamps.
See whether it actually will support somebody on it, because Buster happens to be about my size and weight, so looks like it works. Now, Buster, this won't hurt a bit.
So Buster's new super grip robo hands are welded to his arms.
Plywood.
According to the myth, the builder was holding a sheet of 5-ply when he took his unscheduled flight. That's made up of 5 thin sheets of timber compressed together. As well as trying a regular sheet, Adam and Jamie will use the 5 individual sheets to design their own flying rigs.
So what are you thinking for taking 5 plies from a sheet of plywood and getting the most amount of wind resistance out of them?
Well, my thought, first off, was to array them like a car leaf spring to where we extend the surface area. And
might, of course, end up spinning like a helicopter all the way down.
Which might not be a bad thing, because helicopters, as we know, land a little softer than just the same shape without the propellers, because they're spinning and they get lift from that.
Yeah, but skydivers also have what they call a death spiral.
Well, there is that.
See, I'm thinking of something totally different. I'm thinking of laminating them in such a way that you actually get a curve out of it.
Sure, the original myth only involves 1 sheet of 5-ply, but Adam and Jamie really want this to work. So they're using the 5 single sheets to build the most efficient plywood flying rigs they can. Adam coats the cardboard sheets with light spray-on glue and then puts them together in various 5-sheet permutations.
It's a nurse's hat. Oh, Nurse Savage. So these two represent Jamie and my first ideas about the best ways to slow your descent using 5 plies of plywood. I went with the air scoop idea, but Jamie is trying to make the most square profile to the air going down. And then I started to think, could you just have a little hole in the center and get a lot more square footage? I'll try this. Then I started moving towards the scoop like this, so it's a kind of bridge between Jamie and I. And then we get to these like radical scoops, all of which can be done out of plywood. I've developed a feeding bag because I find lunch just takes too long and I'd rather just eat while I'm working.
Adam prefers the parachute approach, so he and Myth-tern Christine decide to check out Jamie's old army chute.
Maybe it works by the top being bigger than the bottom, and so air is scooped into it.
I think we need to inflate it to actually see how it's constructed. Because this is a little confusing.
Where's that fan? Let's see what we got.
This parachute is about 12 feet wide, 28 feet long. That's almost 300 square feet of area working against the wind.
Turned off my fan.
300 square feet, and not much weight.
168, it's about a 10-pound parachute.
I feel like I'm caught in an unruly evening gown.
All right, so it's about a 10-pound bag.
The parachute weighs 5 times less and has more than double the surface area of the 50-pound plywood.
I guess it might work.
So what have you been thinking?
I'm not sure which approach is best. Should we be going towards a parachute or an actual airfoil, you know?
Well, I mean, I think we want to do one of each. I think we want to do one parachute design, like my flying nun thing, and one wing design.
Using the cardboard sheets to design his wing, Jamie attempts to maximize surface area while not compromising strength. The scale prototypes for Jamie's wing and Adam's parachute are complete. Time for a test run.
We're going to do some drop tests with some of the first mock-ups of these flying rigs.
I've got one that kind of looks like the flying nun's habit, and Jamie's got one that's just a broad piece of as much material as he could get with a couple of stringers.
Hopefully we'll have at least some idea what this is going to do before we actually go out and do it in full scale.
First off, MythBuster gets no help at all.
0.9 seconds.
Go.
Then some combination wing parachute designs slow his fall.
Go.
A little.
1.11 seconds.
What's
Is
our
this
next
the Jamie
point?
wing?
Yeah.
Jamie wing.
3, 2, 1, go.
1.05 seconds. Back to the old drawing board.
Now for Adam's pentagonal parachute design.
That actually wasn't too bad.
That was the best one yet. That was 1.48 seconds.
But Jamie won't take this lying down. He refines his wing prototype.
Ready when you are.
3, 2...
He twists his wing to make it spin.
1.4.
It's interesting. That's up there with the high performers on the other ones.
Yeah.
So we've decided on the two that we're going to make. One is the hexagonal parachute and the other one is the wing here then, because this actually got almost as high a performance.
All right.
The cardboard scale models have done their job, but the real test will come when the flying rigs go full size. Scotty, Carrie, and Tori have been like little Santa's helpers.
Oh, I'm gonna be sick.
Whenever Adam and Jamie have devised some myth-busting mayhem, it's often been this trio's job to make their boss's twisted visions a reality. This time, however, they're going to be in the driver's seat.
That doesn't look right.
All right, guys, so your first story on your own. What have you got?
Well, what we're going to try to do is legally beat the police radar.
Legally, huh? So not the commercially available radar or laser jammers.
Exactly. We've heard all kinds of ideas, like jingling your keys in front of your window.
Disco balls, CD from the rearview mirror, foil on your hubcaps, putting LEDs around your license plate, microwaves, and covering the entire car in foil.
So how are you going to tackle this one? What's the plan?
Well, obviously, we need to get a radar gun. We're also going to try the LiDAR, which is a laser system.
Lift it up a little bit more.
And to test them, the first thing they're going to need is a car. Earl, the MythBusters Cadillac, should do the job. You remember Earl? He's the car the guys use for target practice.
Oh, man.
Our resident grease monkey, Scotty, has to get him back on the road to recovery.
It's gonna be stubborn.
While Scotty coaxes the caddy back to life, Tori and Carrie do a little radar research.
You're not working fast enough, dude.
You got up to 16 that time.
That's it?
Yeah.
Felt like 60.
Now, Carrie's packing a normal radar gun. It fires microwaves that hit the target and bounce back at a slightly different frequency. The frequency difference determines the target speed. Tori's wielding a laser speed gun, or LiDAR. It shoots 1,000 samples per second of infrared laser light at the target. Speed is calculated by comparing the distance between each sample.
Before we get to the real car and do tests, we want to do some sample material tests on the RC car. But before we can even do that, we have to make sure that the RC car will even show up on the radar gun.
The RC car has a top speed of between 5 and 6 miles per hour. But will the radar detect it?
4, 5. We got a reading.
So the RC car is visible to the radar. Now, to make it invisible.
Right now I'm making extra shells to the body of the RC car. Because now that we know how the radar and the LiDAR work, we're going to do some tests on all of our materials. Beautiful, it came out perfectly.
The game of radar hide and seek has been played out since World War II and has sparked the growth of stealth technology. Modern stealth aircraft have flat surfaces and sharp edges. They're also coated with materials that absorb radar.
So every foot?
It'll take way too long to coat Earl in all the materials the myths mention. The remote-controlled car is a much simpler option. But why the blue paint?
Theoretically, it's supposed to change the wavelength of the reflective light on the LiDAR, so we'll see if we can pick this up at a different distance. Are you ready?
I'm always ready.
Okay, go! How fast? 5 miles an hour, 6 topping out when you get to the finish line.
We'll never get pulled over for going 6 miles an hour.
So we're actually picking up this car sooner with the blue than without the blue. Isn't it supposed to be absorbing the light?
That's what they say. It's actually making it easier for us.
Myth number 2, prism tape. This stuff's used to make fishing lures. It might fool fish, but can it rattle the radar?
All right, yellow reflective. Go. Well, the reflective tape is, as far as the RC control is, it's a myth. I'm picking it up a lot faster than the control.
And I have no change at all. It's the same thing. I'm picking it up just at 50 feet.
So far, no good.
The most common myth that we've heard of is the tin foil or aluminum foil. So what we're going to try now is the aluminum foil over the car.
Go when you're ready.
37.
Is it doing anything?
I'm actually picking it up sooner. So if you're avoiding a ticket, this is not the way to go.
One of the myths says that an LED will mess up a LiDAR detector. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rig up this test one with an LED.
Go!
LEDs are infrared, and they're supposed to scramble the LiDAR's infrared beam.
So the LED do anything?
The LED seemed to have no effect on the laser.
Well, it didn't have a significance difference, but it was about 10 feet in difference. We might want to try it on the big car as well.
So on full scale, that could be a mile.
The only thing left, a type of paint which is supposed to absorb radar.
It's actually embedded with a bunch of iron and makes it really heavy. It goes on like frosting. And it's so expensive that if you were actually going to paint your car with this, you might as well just pay off all your speeding tickets.
The paint's so heavy, the RC car won't even go.
Don't give up, Scotty.
You can barely go.
Has this myth been busted before Earl the caddy is out of the garage?
They look really cool, guys. Did anything you tried have any effect on the radar's ability to detect them?
The radar can detect all of these cars.
We also can write off the prism tape. It actually made it more detectable. It's supposed to deflect the laser, but it's actually reflecting it back better.
So the plan now is to go with the most popular ones, like flat black and tinfoil, and we have a few tricks up our sleeve as well.
But before Scotty reveals her tricks, can Adam make plywood become flywood? Adam and Jamie are testing the myth of a builder flying off a skyscraper while holding a sheet of plywood. They're helping the myth out by using 5 single sheets to create their own flying rigs. After testing scale models, Adam has decided on a parachute-like design, and Jamie is building a wing.
Go back further. So.
The plywood wing will be big, 4 feet wide by 20 feet long. And that's the reason they're measuring the workshop.
Never build anything inside a space that you can't get it out of.
The plywood sheets may be heavy, but they're also fragile. Adam removes his 5 sheets from the 12 available.
Screw.
Make that 11.
One tore, bringing it out, trying to get it out of the way of Jay, the cameraman.
Using a scale model, he calculates the angles for the full-size version. He measures up the sheets and then lays them out. Meanwhile, Jamie is placing the sheets for his wing on a cradle made from 2x4s.
Well, look at what you're doing. You're going to laminate it up on the curve.
Yeah, you know, I figure we'll get the glue to actually help it hold its shape before we put the struts in.
Jamie's plan is simple but effective. He'll achieve a curve in his wing by placing weights in the center of the plywood sheets. When the ply is glued, the curve should remain. Meanwhile, Adam glues his plywood using a Jackson Pollock impersonation. Then, to press the sheets together, Adam uses a Fred Astaire impersonation. Adam's pentagonal plywood parachute is taking shape. He's just got to remember, those sheets are really fragile. Now they're down to 10 sheets, and there's no room for error.
I need one more piece.
The last sheet of ply is found and slid into place carefully.
Got it? All right, cool. You can let that down. Thanks, honey. Boy, that was a pain in the ass.
Jamie's wing is looking good.
Oh, and I want to put the strip down.
Narrow strips of ply are used as strengtheners.
Yeah, charm.
Okay, now we go out and bring the pipe in.
Finally, the curve is achieved by adding whatever weights Jamie and Christine can find.
There we go.
Cool.
I'm actually really happy how this came out. And tomorrow when the glue is set, we'll remove all the wood, and hopefully this will retain as much as possible of this curve. This will give us something to work off of for the final touch, which is the twist. Because I'm going to put a diagonal on this that'll torque this thing a little bit and create a propeller shape, which gives us the spin, and the spin gives us the lift, which slows us down.
Could a builder fly through the air on a sheet of plywood? Adam and Jamie have glued together 2 plywood flying rigs for Buster to find out. But how will they know if Buster survives?
Jamie, a key part of this myth is going to be how lethal is Buster's impact when he lands. And we have installed auto industry computer accelerometers in him before with greater and lesser degrees of success. I mean, we're always entering MythBusters meter hell. I think it's time that we build our own G-force meter.
Yeah, you know, if we can't find it, we'll build it ourselves.
Exactly.
Inspiration comes to Adam in the form of a light bulb.
I'm hoping that these light bulbs will end up being the sort of soul of MythBusters' home-built G-meter. We're going to put these inside a ball so that they break at a fatal amount of G-force.
And to add a little drama and realism, the bulbs are filled with fake blood. If they break, we'll know it.
This is a nice thing.
Isn't that cool? Don't you have all the same nefarious thoughts? Hey, yeah, you're dripping it.
The bulb is sealed and placed inside a pair of aluminum sugar scoops.
Ready?
Yeah.
Time for a test drop.
This should be the non-lethal distance. It made it. That's good. All right, I'm going to try the high point. Ready?
Yeah.
Wow.
looks gruesome, doesn't it?
Oh, what a horror show.
The new G-force meter is instantly christened the Ball of Death. The MythBusters have turned decades of occupational health and safety death descriptions into a figure for brain death. 80 Gs for just 32 thousandths of a second. Because the ball is solid metal, it builds up a lot of G-force in just a small drop. But once it's cushioned by Buster's head, it'll survive a much bigger drop. Jamie has used weights to curve the plywood for his wing. But what will happen when the weights are removed?
Jamie, this looks great, man. It looks like it held its curve quite nicely. It was pretty darn rigid.
Yeah, it actually is holding its shape quite nicely.
It racks like a monster.
Which is what we want.
Twisting the plywood wing will turn it into a spinning propeller.
Yeah.
This will further slow its descent, in theory.
So we can rack it this way or rack it this way, depending on whether I want clockwise or counterclockwise rotation when we go down.
Which way you want to vomit?
In fact,
Have fun flying with it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Adam's plywood parachute will cause a little motion sickness. He's left one section unglued so as it can be pulled together to form the plywood into a dish shape.
Hey, Jamie. I'm gonna need some help with this.
Now be careful, in a blink you're gonna end up with a split right along that line.
Jamie and Adam's plywood creations are nearly done. Jamie uses a diagonal cord to increase the twist on his wing.
Okay, now let it go. That's more like it.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
And Adam, well, he's just Adam.
Whoa!
It comes as no surprise that Adam didn't measure up to see if his creation could actually exit the building.
Wait, you're caught. Snap.
Okay.
Jamie's wing made it outside and into the truck easily. But Adam's plywood parachute is a pretty close shave.
God, that just barely fit in there.
The Flying Plywood test site is at Hamilton Base in Novato, an hour north of San Francisco.
I want one of these for myself.
After 47 years as an Air Force bomber and fighter base, Hamilton closed in 1976. The old control tower will be the ideal place to drop Buster.
I think we're gonna need to use the crane to get up here.
Well, that's what the crane's for. Shouldn't be a problem.
That's perfect. We're actually gonna do some drop tests with Buster and some various things that are mythically held to be able to help you survive a fall from several stories. I'll just move this over here.
Nothing much has changed in the last 100 years.
Hey, can someone let me out? Our project today is mounting up the high-speed camera gauge right here on my right.
The tests will take place in front of a scale ruler. A computer attached to the high-speed camera will then be able to determine the exact drop rates. And it's all for this guy. But does he care?
He's a very relaxed dude.
He doesn't know what's about to happen to him.
Human transport.
When Buster drops, the Ball of Death G-force meter will tell us whether he survives or not.
Okay, be careful with this guy now. He has a brain.
Buster will be raised up on the crane and then dropped on cue via a cable quick release.
Once you get up in position, push the blue button and pull out the safety pin.
Okay.
When you pull out the safety pin, it's live, and when you yank on this, he'll drop.
I got it.
And to make sure Buster's the only one who drops, Jamie attaches himself to the crane with a safety harness.
This is so when the machine tips over, I'm held firmly in place and can't escape the destruction.
Those go under your butt. That was great. That was worth the whole season to watch that. There you go.
Up goes Buster, 60 feet up.
Oh man, Buster is toast.
So they can work out if the flying aids do slow him down, Buster's first drop will be totally unassisted and very painful.
3, 2, 1, go.
I was laying on the ground he hit and I felt the ground move a little bit.
I never get tired of doing that.
The high-speed camera reveals Buster is traveling between 34 and 35 miles per hour when he hits the ground.
What's the verdict, Christine?
I think he's dead.
That's a shocker.
Buster kind of looked like a baby bird that just fell out of the nest.
Since the police started using speed radar back in the 1960s, there have been a lot of myths about legal ways to beat it.
Are you ready?
Scotty, Carrie, and Tori used an RC car to put some of these myths to the test.
How fast? 5 miles an hour?
Now they're rigging up Earl, the MythBusters caddy, for a full-scale speed radar assault.
We're making a wheel made of mirrors that catches the wind. As the mirrors get to the back side of this wheel, they should reflect the radar back and fool the radar into thinking we're going slower than we actually are.
They plan to attach an array of mirrors to a bicycle wheel, which will spin on top of the car. But Jamie's got other ideas.
You get that thing spinning at 20 miles an hour, it's going to just, the glass is going to shatter, thing's going to vibrate itself apart. I think you should get some 3/4-inch birch ply, a big rod compass. Draw yourself your 3-foot diameter circle and facet it off.
Suddenly, this radar rig isn't so simple. Jamie's just turned it into a big, complicated build. Still, it gives Scotty a bit more time to work on the caddy.
Come on!
It looks like she might need it. Meanwhile, Carrie's working on another myth.
I'm making a chaff gun that we can explode out the side of the caddy right now. I'm cutting up the foil into little pieces, loading it up like a potato gun, and shooting it off a fire extinguisher.
During World War II, aircraft under attack dropped large clouds of chaff to confuse enemy radar. The chaff was just small pieces of foil, which hid the plane's exact location.
Oh, I love it when things fit perfectly.
The chaff gun is powered by a modified fire extinguisher. And the test firing is a success.
So glad I gave up my desk job.
Did you ever have a desk job?
Second floor reception.
The revolving rig is also taking shape.
Theoretically, the radar will hit in here and it'll send a stronger signal to the receiver. And if this is moving slower than the car, then hopefully it'll read that instead of the car speed.
Carrie's also heard a myth about microwaves messing with radar.
I'm stripping the magnetron out of this microwave so we can mount it in the front of the caddy. And that way we shoot microwaves back at the radar and the LiDAR.
Well, if it doesn't beat the radar, maybe it'll intimidate the cop.
The LEDs didn't trick the LiDAR when they were mounted on the remote-controlled car, but Tori thinks they're worth another try. 300 LEDs will be wired up to the caddy's license plate. Finally, it looks like we're ready to roll. Revolving mirror rig? Check. Microwave gun? Check.
If I were you, I'd stay farther away from that.
Chaff gun? Check. LED license plate? Check. Now, do we have a car?
Whoa! That doesn't look right!
This is the California Highway Patrol Academy training course, and it's the ideal place to see if our Cadillac can slip underneath the radar. A few of the guys from CHIPS are on hand to oversee the experiment. If anything does beat the radar, they want to know about it.
This is gonna freak them out.
So in a lot of the tricked out cars I've seen, they've had a CD dangling from the mirror or they've had LEDs around their license plate. Does this do anything?
It's not going to do anything, and plus they're both illegal.
It's illegal?
You can't have anything hanging down from your rearview mirror. It's going to obstruct the driver's view.
So if you're gonna pull over somebody who has a CD hanging from their rearview mirror, I'm betting that you would pull over somebody that had a giant disco ball hanging from their rearview mirror.
Absolutely. I'd love to see that.
We're gonna try to get through the techniques that we think are kind of dumb first. We're gonna do them all together. CD can attach that to the mirror.
All these shiny accessories are supposed to bounce back the radar's rays and confuse it.
Which, by the way, that's illegal.
But it looks so cool.
Lastly, can you jiggle these keys? Make sure it hits the radar.
That is so stupid.
On each pass, Scotty will keep the caddy steady at just under 50 miles per hour.
We're about to do a test. You ready?
Okay, the Disco DeVille is locked, loaded, and ready to freak out the radar.
Over.
Whenever you're ready, over.
On my way.
Ooh, got it on radar. 39, 40. 48, up to speed. 49.
All right,
I love that sound.
So, keys, disco ball, CD, busted. No effect whatsoever.
Are you surprised?
Absolutely. All right, next let's do foil on the hubcaps.
Done.
The next radar myth, tin foil on the hubcaps.
Scotty, hit it.
$42, $43.
700 feet, 47 miles an hour.
Once again, though, the radar and the LiDAR have a fix on Scotty all the way.
Still jiggling the keys, still doesn't work.
Maybe that was too subtle.
I think maybe people think that because it's kind of crumbly, that the radar will shoot at the crumbles and maybe dissipate. But it's just one giant reflector, if you ask me.
You'll be able to see it from outer space.
Yeah, she's going fast. Or I'm just picking it up way sooner. 47.
Yep.
Oh, yeah! Foil's been foiled!
We'll see if the LEDs can light up this experiment.
One infrared license plate.
Perfect. All right, so the theory here is that these infrared LEDs are on the same wavelength and have enough intensity to fool the LiDAR.
300 LEDs are emitting infrared, but the LiDAR's own infrared beam is locked on all down the line.
47.
Busted!
I was aiming right at the LED license plate, and nothing changed.
Absolutely nothing changed.
Busted.
Busted.
Okay, let's try Carrie's magnetron gun.
And yes, I know I spelled magnetron wrong. That's supposed to have an E. Don't email me. That jumped up so fast. It is definitely working. The K-band radar operates on about the same frequency as a microwave, so we're gonna shoot microwaves towards it to try to confuse it.
I got it at 49.
But the radar still has the caddy in its sights. No change at all. The magnetron theory is busted.
I had no difference in the speed. I got like 48 miles an hour. Is that what you guys got?
Yeah, and I picked her up right away.
Maybe the aluminum foil firing chaff gun will be able to trick the radar.
Scotty, we are good to go on the chaff gun.
On my way.
Run it, Scotty!
As the caddy passes the radar, Carrie will trigger the chaff gun from the back seat.
It didn't go! Why didn't it go?
I have a feeling she forgot to pull the pin.
Look at... Oh! Oh my God. I'm a total dumb... I don't know what's going on.
A quick reload, and we're ready for take two. This time, Carrie's right on cue. But again, the radar is unaffected.
It all blew to the side.
Which is going to be more expensive, the speeding ticket or the littering ticket?
The littering ticket.
All right, Now my favorite, the Wheel of Death.
The mirrors on the Wheel of Death are supposed to be revolving at a slower speed than Earl is traveling. Will the radar detect the speed of the mirrors or the speed of the caddy?
46, 47.
The radar result is exactly the same.
44, 42, 40.
Carrie detects an anomaly.
It's giving a weird Doppler reading, but overall, it's not really making it look like it's going any slower.
In fact, the only surprise is that you wouldn't be pulled over for having this on your car.
It definitely catch my attention, but it's not over height. There's nothing against it.
There's only one thing left to do to try and make the caddy stealthy. Cover the car with matte black paint. Will the matte finish reduce the car's reflectivity and absorb the radar signal?
It's like a 60s gang car. We're gonna pile in and go to a rumble.
Well, it sort of looks like a stealth fighter.
This is it. This is the one. This is the one where we think we may have the edge.
What do you got?
I got 48.
47.
47. Okay.
Got it right away.
That was our best bet, and it's busted.
Time for the guys to report back to Adam and Jamie.
Well, we tried almost every theory that we heard. Disco ball, CD, keys.
Busted.
The ever popular foil in the hubcaps.
Busted.
LED.
Busted.
Microwaves.
My favorite. Busted.
Chaff gun.
Surprisingly busted.
And black paint and tinfoil all over your car.
Busted.
Totally out. Amazing.
The only thing that gave us any result, but just barely, is my favorite, and I think you're gonna like this one, Adam. The radar Wheel of Death.
Oh my God. What did this actually do?
Hardly anything at all. It just varied the audio tone that the radar sent back that let you know how fast the car was going.
I think if you're gonna get out of a ticket, short skirts and crying is still the way to go.
It's been a bad day for Buster.
He's lost his head.
They've amputated his hands, they've operated on his skull, and they've made him bleed. Could it get any worse?
Buster's gonna die.
While they're at Hamilton Base, Adam and Jamie are using Buster to test out a few other flying myths, like umbrellas. Christine loads up the Ball of Death G-force meter with the fake blood-filled light bulb.
All right, safety device number one.
Buster's first mythical safety device is an open rain umbrella. Well, at least he won't get wet.
3, 2, 1, go. That was great, Jimmy. Come on down. Well, it actually held up quite well. I'm looking forward to see if it slowed his fall even a little bit. First fall was 35 miles an hour. My guess is 33 miles an hour. Were you able to see that from up there?
Yeah.
Pretty cool. The umbrella held up like until just about the last 10 feet.
It's not the fall that gets you, it is that last 10 feet.
There's plenty of fake blood, but the Ball of Death reveals a surprise.
That's not that broken at all. There's one of two conclusions we can draw from this. Either the umbrella did a significant job in slowing his speed, or we're a little incompetent with our home-built G-meter. And personally, I'd vote for the second one.
The high-speed camera reveals what really happened.
Feet first.
So, because the umbrella held him upright, he actually fell faster this time, 38 miles per hour.
Yeah, but what about the impact?
Speed isn't the only factor in a fall. How you impact also affects survivability. In his free fall, Buster's head and body hit the ground at the same time. Even though the umbrella drop was faster, Buster's body acted like a shock absorber, greatly reducing the impact on his head. That's why the Ball of Death only cracked.
He's probably dead anyway.
Oh, you're dead. Let's get the big picnic umbrella.
All right.
Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Good to go.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, drop. That was pretty cool. That didn't look entirely unsuccessful. I'm trying to keep a straight face, but I can't.
The picnic umbrella reduces Buster's speed to 29 miles per hour. Slower, but not slow enough.
He's dead.
It's no myth that a parachute is designed for this purpose, but can it open in only 60 feet?
On my mark, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. That worked almost stunningly well.
Buster's down to 28 miles per hour, but unfortunately, his head smashes into his own knee.
I'm sorry. We did everything in our power, and Buster didn't make it.
Yeah.
Get off him, you pervert. He's a poor, defenseless dummy, and look what she's doing.
As well as being killed 4 times already, Buster has sustained some pretty serious injuries. Time for some in-the-field surgery.
All right. Let's get him up. Let's fly this guy.
But sometimes even a crash test dummy needs a little positive affirmation.
You know, Buster, everyone really appreciates how you're willing to take one for the team time and time again. Are you ready for a piece of plywood? Oh, I can tell you're feeling it. Oh, he's ready.
Finally, the original flying builder myth is to be put to the test.
He's gonna die, but it's gonna look great.
We're locked and loaded, over.
Remember, in the myth, the falling builder is able to glide gracefully back inside the skyscraper, totally unharmed.
Go. Buster was such a good dummy.
Rather than slowing him down, the plywood increases Buster's velocity to over 36 miles per hour. His body snaps the 5-ply sheet in half.
He's got blood dripping out the back of his head.
Oh.
Getting used to all this blood, Christine?
Still grosses me out.
We can look at the speed tests and we can look at the death ball, but I don't think I need to see either of them to say this one's busted.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. He went straight down. There was no deflection off to the side or anything, and he's done for.
Let's go get our solutions. Let's go try my wooden parachute.
Okay.
Adam and Jamie have taken the 5-component layers of the plywood sheet and created 2 flying rigs for Buster to try. Jamie's design is based on a spinning wing, and Adam's is modeled on the parachute.
Ready to drop.
These rigs represent 3 days of skill, passion, and effort. Pity, really.
Well, a fat lot of good that did.
And that's why they don't make parachutes out of wood.
Oh well, the best laid plans. It was a nice idea.
Nice try. It worked most of the way.
I'm taking solace in the fact that your wing is going to fail so utterly spectacularly.
You're probably right. But then you never know.
Then you never know.
Jamie is quietly confident his rig will do the job.
4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Woo! Do you feel better now?
I do. I feel a lot better.
All this Buster dropping has created an impromptu MythBusters fan club.
So Adam, what do you think? Did he go slower at all? At least he didn't flip over again until the right at the last minute.
It didn't spin at all, and then he went totally sideways and landed on its edge, and he just collapsed with it. It was a horror show. And unfortunately, he was off center, and the high-speed camera caught none of it.
Bummer.
Oh, man. Poor guy.
And the crowd's verdict.
That was better than I could have ever hoped.
Buster's day has come to an end. Now it's time to see if a MythBuster can fly. Adam and Jamie rig up the zip line from the control tower to the crane. The crane backs away to tighten the cable.
Stop! Oh, I'm totally looking forward to flying with a piece of ply. I mean, even though Buster took a hard hit from it, we're doing a more controlled test so that hopefully Jamie and I won't get horrible head trouble while doing it.
We're ready to go.
But it is always a strange thing to throw yourself out over the edge of a 60-foot drop. Your body resists it.
But this is the only way to find out if it's possible to control the plywood sheet in flight.
We have liftoff.
I fart on you! Forget about controlling this thing. There's no control. I mean, I tried pushing my head up against it. At the peak, I could not get it. It's just like all over the place. And I was holding it dead center.
Well, that's the most interesting thing about this whole thing so far. I mean, we've tested everything we could, but short of actually jumping off a building and seeing whether you die or not.
What?
Jamie has even less control over the plywood. There's just no way you can steer this thing.
Well, more than any other data we can come up with, Buster's a pretty clear indicator of how survivable a 60-foot fall actually is. But what was our actual data?
Well, not surprisingly, the parachute was actually the best at about 28 miles per hour. Right behind it was the large umbrella at 29. What really surprised me was that the plywood was no use at all. In fact, it broke over Buster's back upon impact. And our rigs didn't do anything at all, didn't help either.
From a controllability standpoint and from a velocity hitting the ground standpoint, this is one of those myths that's just unequivocally busted.
Yeah, absolutely. Myth busted.